New day, a brand new month, and officially a brand new year. Well, if you, like millions of others today, you've probably got some big goals swirling around in your head. Maybe, in fact, it's finally time to hit the gym, start that side hustle, or just, finding a bit more me time. But we've got all of that. In fact, we've all been there. And most of us know that our resolutions, by the time that it's February, it all fizzles out. But the good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. And let's explore some practical ways to set meaningful goals, their cost, and how, in fact, they can be achieved. And this is, of course, joining us for the conversation. We're joined by certified financial planner Tsungai Masendeke. Thank you so much for your time. Happy New Year again. It's that time of the year. We were even hearing from children that they are as well making New Year's resolutions. But they often come with quite a hefty price tag, and that's on self-improvement. How do we make sure that we can continue to keep our New Year's resolutions, but also considering the fact that, often when we don't keep to them, we lose out on money. Gym memberships, new books sitting on the shelf. There's a cost to failing on your New Year's resolutions, right?
Thank you so much, Veronica, and happy New Year, and to your fantastic viewers. So you're absolutely right. January is that time of the year where everyone is hook onto New Year's resolutions. And we actually find typically in January, as people are anticipating great things, as people want to achieve better things for their lives, they have got a shopping list of things that they actually want to achieve in January. Sadly, because of overspending in December, a lot of people then do a lot of impulsive spending again in January, which then puts them in a very dire situation. But I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we want to make sure that people don't make those mistakes we've seen historically, and they can actually set themselves on a path for great success in 2026.
And I'm curious to know which resolutions are the most expensive. Is it the diet? Is it the gym membership? Is it the, the detox?
So, Veronica, quite interestingly, you hit the nail on the head. One of the most expensive New Year's resolutions is around financial fitness, is around health, is around lifestyle. So people will subscribe to gym memberships, and the sad reality is by March, 80% of the people that actually subscribed are no longer going to gym. And I've been one of those culprits, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. So gym memberships, health and lifestyle kind of activities. So for example, people subscribing to healthy blogs, people deciding that they actually want to have a healthy lifestyle, healthy eating. Those are some of the key expenses that become very, very, very financially restrictive throughout the year. So what we've observed is that a lot of individuals will sign up for gym. But when you sign up for gym, it's a 12-month membership. That requires that you go, you buy yourself the best sporting gear. But the unfortunate reality is that most of that sporting gear then accumulates dust for the rest of the year. So my suggestion would be, if your New Year's resolution is becoming healthier, staying fit more often, start with a home gym. There are lots of websites nowadays that allow you to still stay fit, but without that initial capital outlay that becomes wasted expenditure for the rest of the year. So if you can, do exercises. I love Zumba. Cost effective, as long as you've got a YouTube channel or you've got a YouTube subscription or even just the free version. You can exercise and take care of those calories of that malva pudding that you ate during Christmas, and you're not actually wasting or experiencing that unnecessary expenditure. Walking, another cost-effective, healthy lifestyle habit that people can decide to prioritize without incurring high outlays. So yes, Veronica, it is possible to still stay fit without breaking the bank.
And there's other options as well. And you speak about the fact that people will go out and buy very costly, gym gear. I've done this. I'm guilty of this. I'll tell myself that, I'm reading 3 books for a month. I go to the bookstore, I buy them. They just sit there and gather dust. Other hobbies as well that people have taken up, say it's sewing for the year. You buy the machine, but it sits there and it gathers dust. But often what we find is that these purchases are done at a very heightened moment. Are consumers being emotionally targeted?
Definitely. So there's actually what we call ecological intelligence, where marketers look at the ecology of the people in the country that they're marketing to so that they can actually lure them into making those expenditures. So it's not by chance that you all of a sudden have this itch to want to subscribe for your gym membership. It's intentional. They're actually targeting you intentionally, which is why I actually recommend, if you've got New Year's resolutions that require some financial outlay or that require money, sit with a certified financial planner, sit with a financial professional who will help you to do what we call goal-based investing or goal-based spending. So what we typically do is would set out what your desired outcomes are. And if, for example, it's to subscribe for a gym membership, we say start with the slow, steady pace where you're not investing significantly, but you start the journey. And then we actually help you to then accumulate enough money that even after 6 months, if you're really, really, really serious about this goal, you actually now have the capital that you can then invest in this goal that you set at the beginning of the year. And like you said, there are a lot of things that people can do. For example, you talked about reading. You can actually start a group with people either in your community, people that you went to school with, where you can do what we call book exchanges. Because like you, there's some people who've got great books on their bookshelves that they've already read that they would like to exchange for other competitive or good reads. So you can actually collaborate and exchange without any capital outlay, but still making the system work for you.
And those are such practical solutions. But I'm also curious about the psychology as to when people need to understand enough is enough. You're not going to the gym, but you're watching, those payments kick off every single month, but yet you don't want to fail on this resolution. People just want to stick to it so bad. When is enough enough?
So I typically tell people, give yourself what I call a 3-month period to assess whether or not this is something you really want to commit to. They say that it takes approximately 21 days for someone to change their habits. So if you want to change a habit of, eating healthy, follow a strict dietary program for 21 days. If you want to start running, if you want to start gymming, whatever it is that you want to start doing, whether it's short-term, long-term, give yourself at least 21 days to rewire the brain, to change those neurological pathways so that you can actually become consistent at it. So I say give yourself, first of all, the 21 days to implement the behavior. And then if after 3 months you really, really have remained consistent, then you can actually start investing in that specific goal. And I know for some people, they're excited right now. They got sucked into the marketing campaigns. The psychology of marketing actually was successful in luring them into these programs. But if you can, give yourself, like I said, a 21-day period where you see if the habits are actually going to change, and then a 3-month probation period where you can actually see if you're committed. But also importantly, if it's, for example, gym membership, don't sign up for a 12-month package. And I do know that they'll tell you that it's much cheaper. Rather go for a month-by-month one. Because if at least after 2 months you realize, this is not for me, I'd rather be doing Zumba or some fun workout with dancers, then at least you've got a way out. And you know what I've learned in my own personal journey? Sometimes it's not failing, all right, when you actually then cancel the subscription. It's what we call redirecting purpose. What you're literally doing is saying, this is probably not purposeful for me. I can find something else as an alternative where I can pivot and become even more successful. So instead of holding yourself down to something you cannot commit to, rather just give yourself the grace to repurpose, pivot, and let's see how 2026 becomes the best year because you actually did something you enjoyed and you stuck to it.
Absolutely. And I think as well, the conversation around secondhand, other options. I mean, for somebody who's wanting to take on dieting, there are those options of buying, those juicing, machines from different markets secondhand. What are some of the options that viewers can take to make sure that they're not wasting money on their resolutions and that they're not bleeding out by the time the year ends?
Fantastic question, Veronica. So like you correctly identified, using secondhand items is a great idea. Also, what we call exchange and top up. So again, you can market on platforms that allow you to post certain things in your household right now that you have that have become redundant. And what you can do is you can actually facilitate what you call a barter or an exchange, which is very cost effective. So if I'm looking for a good blender, but I've got a rice cooker that I don't need or that I don't want, or a pressure cooker, then you can actually facilitate what you call an exchange or a barter. Another thing that I've also seen become quite trendy that people also utilize is to make sure that they actually sell some things that they don't need in order to raise the capital that they can then use for their desired goal or desired outcome. So there are cost-effective ways of still hitting your 2026 goals, still having the fabulous life that you want, still making sure that you actually tick those resolutions and you're actually fired up for the next year. So it is possible. Secondhand, great alternative. Doing barter or exchange, also another alternative. And then another thing I'd also suggest, like I said, is to actually sell the things you have that you don't need. You know, it's that gym equipment you've had since 2015 that you've never used. Sell it off and then maybe start a hobby that you'd actually love, like art or sewing, like you mentioned earlier. So there are ways to get around these things and to make sure that you still hit your goals successfully.
Absolutely. And I promise I am going to read those books, talking to us, of course, about the cost of New Year's resolutions that was certified Financial Planner Tsungai Masendeke. Thank you so much for your time.